I just watched the 1993 HBO movie Barbarians at the Gate, and I thought I'd turn the camera on and give my thoughts on it. This should probably be a pretty short movie review, and I mean short by my standards. Look at my past video links to get an idea of how long I usually ramble on. But in this particular case, I don't really think I have that much intelligence to say about this movie. So maybe a short review. We'll see. This actually, let me back up. If you've been watching my channel this past week, you know that I very rarely have time to watch movies, but my kids are with my wife at my wife's parents' house for the week, and I've been taking advantage of the free time to do some reading and watching movies. Now, the only access I have to movies is YouTube. I don't have a DVD player. I live in Vietnam. I don't have cable. I don't have streaming. I just have YouTube. But there's tons of old movies on YouTube, and this is one of them. Now I'll link in the description down below to the video that I watched here. I don't really know what the legality of it is. It's being hosted on a small channel, so it probably is there illegally, huh? But it was posted there 10 years ago, and nobody's taken it down. And there are, this was an HBO movie at one point, and I guess HBO has this thing where because they're premium cable, they always have to show skin or something. There's some brief shots of half-naked women running around during the fashion runway scene when they're walking through the changing rooms. It's very brief, but yeah, that's probably not supposed to be on YouTube, right? Maybe it's just luck that it's been up for 10 years and hasn't been taken down yet. But I wasn't actually even planning on tracking this movie down, except the algorithm served it up to me. I was surfing around on YouTube. I think first there was a short clip of the movie, and I watched the clip, and because I watched that clip, the algorithm served up the whole movie to me. And I vaguely remembered this movie. I mean, I never saw it, but I remember it getting some publicity in the 90s. I was still quite young at the time. I was in middle school or early high school, I guess, when this came out in 1993. So I wasn't really following any of the events depicted in the movie. But I mean, I do remember that this was how, like, Barbarians at the Gate, to describe a hostile business takeover, entered the lexicon. Or at least that's my memory of it. This was the movie that brought that phrase as a hostile business takeover into prominence. And I remember some of the buzz it was getting. We never had HBO at my place. We just had basic cable. But I think by the late 90s, it was being shown on basic cable. Probably not the half-naked women, but I feel like I've seen the beginning of the film, or seen clips of the film back in the mid-90s or late 90s, but never watched it all the way through. And when the algorithm served it up to me, I thought, yeah, this movie got good reviews at the time, didn't it? And earlier this week, I had watched Flash Gordon Conquers the Universe, which was like a ridiculous sci-fi soap opera. So, no, soap opera is the wrong word. Space opera, right? Space opera is what they call it. So I thought, oh, okay, a little bit more grounded movie, a docudrama based on a true story. It is based on a true story. It's based on a book of the same name from 1989, which is about the takeover of RJR Nabisco. And the opening of the movie says, the following is based on the truth, as unbelievable as that may seem. So, And it starts off well. Good pacing, good acting, kind of snappy dialogue. And I was settling in thinking, okay, this is going to be an entertaining movie. And it was pretty entertaining. Um, the only thing is, when it started off and it said the following is based on the truth, as unbelievable as that may seem, I thought, okay, this is going to get wild. There's going to be some zigs and zags in this plot. Like, there's going to be like some unbelievable stuff coming in here. And it actually wasn't all that unbelievable. It basically was just a bidding war between a couple of different people over taking over a company. And they had some dramatic moments in there, but I don't know. I guess with that opening or with the film's reputation, I was expecting like something that would really some sort of really kind of unbelievable story, and it was, I don't know. The story itself maybe isn't all that interesting, but it's based on a true story, so I guess I can't complain, right? If they had exaggerated stuff to make it more interesting, then I would complain that it wasn't realistic or wasn't really based on a true story. So it's got a few famous people in here. James Garner is F. Ross Johnson, the main character. Now, James Garner, I had to look him up on Wikipedia. He was in The Great Escape, and I know I've seen him in that. I don't think I've really seen him in that much else. Although, according to Wikipedia, he played Maverick, so that's his claim to fame. But I never saw the TV show Maverick. It was before my time. I don't remember it being rerun in my youth. But he's got this face where you're like, definitely seen him in something before. In fact, a lot of the actors in here have faces that you've seen, that you feel like you've seen them in somewhere before. I've been looking a lot of them up on Wikipedia, and they don't seem to be like superstars, but there's so many familiar faces in here. So I guess these were moderately famous actors at the time HBO did this in the 90s. 1993 is when the movie came out. The aesthetic of it is definitely dated. It's from 1993, but it kind of has 80s cheese all over it, if you know what I mean. It's a funny thing when aesthetics like this get dated, especially when it happens within your own lifetime. So, like I watched something from the 1960s and it seems like so dated, right? But you're like, well, the 1960s, that was ages ago. That was before I was born. 1993, I lived through. So you're like, there was a time when this kind of aesthetic was stylish, and now it just looks so cheesy. And when did that happen exactly? These kind of changes happen so gradually while you're living through them, I guess. But it's the kind of thing that Saturday Night Live would make fun of so easily. The so many montages of people kind of looking over spreadsheets or talking in boardrooms. The cheesy music that accompanies these montages, etc. The main character is a guy named F. Ross Johnson, played by James Gardner. And I don't know anything about the true story behind this other than what I just saw in the movie and 2 seconds of research on Wikipedia. But you get the impression that the script is biased in his favor. Like there are a lot of things where people are upset at him, but the script wants you to sympathize with him. And you could easily see, I could see where he could easily be an unsympathetic character if somebody else were writing the script. And to a certain extent, they're all unsympathetic characters in the sense that they're all greedy bastards. This is just a story about a bunch of greedy businessmen who are trying to manipulate the stocks and buyouts and stuff like that. But he's our main character. So he's the guy you're rooting for, even though, I don't know, it's not like his kids have cancer or anything. His goal is to just leverage a buyout of his company so he can become even richer. And you're like, oh, he's still going to be pretty rich even if this doesn't work through for him. But you have that in the back of your mind. But then because he's the main character of the movie, you are just kind of rooting for him, and you buy into it a little bit, and it helps that James Garner is really charming and funny. Although James Garner also plays him a little bit like a sleazebag, so that keeps you a little bit at arm's length. But he's a smooth talker. He's a schmaltzer. He's good at what he does. You want him to succeed. Yeah, it's aside from the dated 80s aesthetic, it's pretty well written. There are a lot of funny lines in here. It was filmed in 1993, took place in 1998 and 1999, and they have all these references to the Dan Quayle and Dukakis and all the things that were happening during the 1988 election, which must have been very timely references to the original audience when this came out in 1993, and are now, well, now people care a lot less about Dan Quayle or Michael Dukakis or that kind of stuff, but it's still interesting little tidbits sprinkled in there. And I think that's all I've got to say about this movie. I'm sure somebody who is a more intelligent reviewer than I am could talk more about how sharp the dialogue is or how good the writing is in some scenes. But all I'm going to say is I found it entertaining. And I'll leave it like that. And I'll leave a link in the description down below to the copy I watched. Assuming YouTube hasn't taken it down by the time you see this, you can watch it yourself and make up your own mind.